Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in great spirits. Because another day above the dirt is, come on, man. We already know. It's always a blessing to be alive. It's dope to be alive. Let's not forget that, y'all. Let us not forget that. We got some things we have got to get into, y'all. There is some very interesting things popping off revolving around this case of D4vd. Yes, guys, we got some new updates. Something that I did not expect, which we will be talking about. It is the top thing that we're going to be talking about on this show. It is absolutely insane. We will be talking about that. We're going to lead to that because there's a lot of stuff that's been talked about and mentioned and brought up leading up to this breaking piece that you see in the title, up above or down below, wherever you're watching this show right here. So please do me a favor before we get into everything, all right? Before we get into this conversation, hit that like button down below. Yeah, where's Neon? I see what you did there, Jay Blazin. Do me a favor, though. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, make sure you hit that follow button. Follow. Okay? Please and thank you. Follow. All right? Hit that subscribe button right here on my YouTube channel. Come on, guys. You know your boy's working hard out here in these streets. Dag me a bit. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, I talk about a lot of different things on this channel, on this show, and there's a lot of breaking news, and it's absolutely crazy, and we do everything we can. We do everything we can to figure it out and get it out to you guys. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and let it get hopping. Okay? Lupita, I appreciate you saying that. Okay? That means a lot. Thank you. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload. Hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon, and of course, just check out pascalmerch.com. Just go check it out. Take 2 seconds to check out the show and just see what you think. Okay? Just do it. Okay? pascalmerch.com. It's very simple. Okay? Okay? Okay. All right, guys. We got to get into some things, okay? We got some conversations that need to be had. We need to be popping off here. And because apparently there's a wave, and this is just, we're talking about the weather for a second. There is a wave of like a huge storm coming up here in the air, in like a massive amount of states here in just a little while. So that's why I was like, let me get in here now, give you guys this information now and not wait for this evening, because I have a feeling this evening is going to be a little bit crazy. And the last time I was live, my whole outdoors got hit hard with a tornado. And yeah, that was pretty wild. The whole place, it missed my place like that. It was just crazy. Okay. So nonetheless, I'd rather be ready, you know what I mean, than not ready. And man, I don't want to lose my life on camera. Shoot. Okay. Okay. So that's why we are doing this now and not later on. And of course, you know, if you know how it is, they always say, oh, you know, we have debris, and then nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, maybe nothing will happen. If nothing happens, then I'll be back on and we'll chop it up and we'll talk. You know what I mean? Lupita said, we can't lose you, Pascal, because you can't quit me. I understand. It's a blessing and a curse being me. It's hard being me. I'm kidding. But here, Nonetheless, that's why I'm here earlier rather than a little bit later to give you guys this news. Because, yeah, a storm apparently is coming, and it's going to be raining down hard, okay? Now, here's the thing. I just want to remind you guys of what happened last night, because some of y'all missed last night, and that's totally understandable. Y'all were sleeping, which I was, too. I wish I was doing that, too. But no, I felt that it was my duty to please that booty. No, it was my duty to shaft. I'm sorry. No one got that. It's my duty to please that booty. Shaft. Moving on. I felt compelled to give you guys that breaking news because honestly, I'm going to be real. We've been waiting for this moment. We were waiting for this moment where D4vd finally got arrested in connection to the murder of Celeste Rivas. It was about mother-loving time, okay? So it was a pretty big deal. So we went live last night to give you guys that breaking news because it was massive that he finally got arrested. D4vd. David Burke is actually his real government name. He finally got arrested last night. Now, there's been a lot of talk. Before we get into the title, we need to talk about these things first. Because TMZ has been interesting. TMZ's been on one a little bit. When it comes to any like these artists and stuff, I'm not like, listen, I'm not knocking TMZ. They got to do their thing, okay? This is how they make their monies and all that too. But there's something about this case and like the Diddy case too that just kind of irks my soul. You know, like let me explain what I mean. Like this right here. This is what they put up this morning, okay? They said, you know, there may be problems and curveballs in the case. Oh, I don't know. Prosecution's going to have a hard time proving that he's the bad guy. And I'm like, why are you saying all that mess, man? Like, it takes several seats, man. With all due respect, I utilize their platform. I utilize their articles, their interviews, and all that stuff because that's what they do. They're a news source, okay? They're a source of news media. But at the same time, I'm like, man, why is everybody so gung-ho about like having this man walk free? Because this morning there was a whole conversation of he might walk free. Yes, there's like, is it a possibility that he could walk free on Monday? Oh, clutch my pearls. Now, let me tell you this. Yes, there's still a possibility, guys. Let me just say the quiet part a little bit louder for you guys. Yes, there is a good possibility. Well, there's not a good possibility. There's just a possibility that he could literally walk out free. That's still on the table. Like, I don't know. There's still possibilities that when Brian Kohberger was arrested, there was still a possibility that Brian Kohberger could have walked out after a hearing if they didn't have enough to pin it to his ass, right? So it's the same thing with D4vd. And let me tell you something. They would not waste their time arresting him if they didn't have enough to take his ass down. At least in my personal opinion. Now, I could be absolutely wrong with this situation, but David is already in a lot of deep doo-doo. And this was a long time coming. Let me just say that. It was a long time coming. 7 months since the day that Celeste Rivas's dismantled body, was found in the front trunk of his black Tesla at a tow yard. It took them 7 months to finally put shackles on this dude. Crazy, right? Now, yes, Santiana, I did say doo-doo, okay? That's what I'm here for. The info and the comedy. Brilliant, brilliant comedy. I'm kidding. But here it is, guys. This is before we go into the main topic of the day, okay? Just so you know. All right. So this was earlier today. TMZ is saying that, there may be problems in this particular case. They may have arrested him too soon. And this is bad. Now, let me remind you also one more thing before we go into this article. They did basically say, yeah, we hear this all the time. Let's just be completely real. We hear this kind of thing all the time where they say, hey, the police always say, we got to make sure all our T's are crossed, all the lowercase J's are dotted, and the I's. Okay, we got to make sure everything is stitched together and flawless before we make an arrest. Because once we get in there, we only get one shot, mom spaghetti, and that's it. We hear that all the time. So the same thing with police, with this situation, with LAPD. Do you realize how much that they've been pushing back on the medical examiner information that we heard several months ago? Remember that as we take a trip down memory lane? They were pushing back saying, medical examiner doesn't even know what they're saying. They're completely wrong in this information, blah, blah, blah. And it's the medical examiner that was saying this. So if they went out of their way, police went out of their way to actually arrest D4vd, that means they have something, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. And it's funny because even the medical examiner, as you're reading in the article or in the title here, okay, for this video, they're saying something too, something really bad, something that could keep this man locked up for life. Yeah. So let's get into this, shall we? So, and we'll go to the update here in a second, but David's arrest was dramatic for sure. But there's something underlying it that screams something is up with the prosecution's case. And it may not be as solid as people think. Now, you've had 7 whole freaking months to get yo ish together. Why would they suddenly just out of nowhere randomly go and arrest him if they didn't have anything solid on his ass? It's been 7 months. Why? It's been long enough for them to do, you see what I'm saying? To put something together solid. You don't just go up and arrest the guy all willy-nilly if you don't have nothing, even after 7 whole months. Look at all the other cases we've covered over time where there are people that are still out in the streets breathing in this freedom air, and they have never been put in handcuffs, not once. And you know for a fact we are all side-eyeing those particular people that should be persons of interest in our minds. And it's been years, if not multiple years, if not decades, since that person was last seen or since that person's body was found. And then for some odd reason, police were not able to connect any of the dots to that particular person of interest. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing here, you know? He just would have been out here playing Fortnite and you know what I mean? Making music and making beats and stuff and just continuing with his life. But that's not the case here. 7 whole months and they finally got this guy in shackles. So something's going on, right? So I beg to differ. LAPD, which we already know, LAPD, by the way. This wasn't just some this is LAPD. They would not have arrested this guy if they didn't have anything. So I don't agree with this article, just in case you didn't know. All right. But they arrested David late Thursday night, which we already know, and quickly put out a statement that they would present the case to the DA on Monday. So we will be here watching and seeing how that all unfolds in real time. Trust me, we will be watching on Monday. Here's the thing. Oh, and of course, we'll be keeping an eye on everything that's going on overseas as well. Trust, we're keeping an eye on everything. Okay, but here's the thing. The DA's office already had the case. They had it for months. Duh. So Deputy DA Silverman, Beth Silverman, has been presenting evidence to the LA County grand jury since November. And it seemed, by all accounts, this was more than an investigative grand jury. It was a grand jury convened to indict D4vd for the alleged unaliving of Celeste Rivas. If the grand jury heard all this evidence, wouldn't it make sense for it to indict? So saying the case would be presented to the DA doesn't make sense. The DA had the power to file charges and then arrest D4vd, not vice versa. Don't worry. We'll get to it because you reading right now. You're reading the title down below underneath this video. So in my personal opinion, I think TMZ kind of counted their chickens before they hatched. You know what I mean? They kind of overshot this. They got a little too overzealous and said, well, wait a second. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know if they have a case. I don't think they have a strong enough case. Au contraire, mon frère. Okay? Like I said, we already know the end result here. I'm reading you guys what happened this morning. So if you look down there, down below, or above, wherever you're watching the show, the title says why he was arrested. You see what I'm saying? That this is the reason why he was arrested. You see? Okay. Just want to make sure. Because some of y'all be like, he said they shouldn't have done what they did. Well, read the title down below and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? Inspector, he ain't walking free. I'd be surprised if he does walk free, Inspector. Real talk. I'll be surprised if he walks free. I will. Still, there is a possibility of him walking free. That is true, but I just don't see it. Nope. I don't see it. I can see him walking free after a trial, but not this one. One thing is clear, cause of demise, cause of death may end up being the centerpiece of the trial. We know the medical examiner had enormous trouble in attempting to determine cause of demise because of the condition of Celeste's body. We do not know if the ME has actually determined cause of demise or whether the conclusion was undetermined. Without a clear cause of death, was it homicide, an accidental OD, etc., it becomes a weapon for the defense. Do you see do you see the title down below? And do you see what we're reading here that they wrote this morning? Like I said, I'm just giving you spoiler alert is in the title down below. So instantly they were very quick to be like, oh yeah, no, they don't have nothing. Are we sure that the prosecution has anything? Read the title down below. That's the reason why he was arrested. See what I'm saying? Yeah, they got enough. Oh, they most definitely got enough. Although why did I sound like Lavelle Crawford right there? I definitely got enough. Although the defense has said D4vd did not unalive Celeste, which is a lie. Nor was he the cause of her death. He may have known something about how she ended up in his car. Yeah, he better. But even if he knew how she ended up in his trunk or his front trunk, it is not proof in and of itself he actually murdered her. Then, of course, they said, to be continued. What are they going to do? What's going to happen next? Right? Now, law enforcement source tells TMZ this was an investigative grand jury and not one designed to indict anyone. And this was, again, this morning. But why did the LAPD say they were presenting the case to the DA on Monday if the DA was in charge of the grand jury investigation? Good question. Very good question. Well, part of it is the next part we're going to look at here in a second, but we need to take a look at a few photos. Oops. I don't care about that. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Just some photos of the moment when he got arrested and all that. And of course, I mean, this is some serious stuff. This is very, very serious stuff. Take a look. Take a look-see, Lou. Apparently, he was staying at Sandra Bullock's old crib, which is interesting. It's what I find very interesting is that, like, for someone who is being, looked at as a prime suspect for the unaliving of an underage girl, by the way, he seemed to be doing just fine living how he was living. You feel me? He was doing just fine, it seemed like. No issues whatsoever. I just find that a little odd. But we got to hear what TMZ, what Harvey Levin has to say about this. Again, like I said, I get asking the questions. It's also an opportunity to make content for them, you know what I mean, to make an article, spark a conversation and whatnot. But at the same time, I just don't think that LAPD would just suddenly arrest this guy now when they could have arrested him with nothing except an excuse on a whim, arresting him 7 months ago because she was found in his car. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? They could have easily have arrested him 7 months ago. That's it. They could have arrested him 7 months ago with nothing except the fact that her body was in his car. And that's it. But they didn't do that. They waited 7 whole months. So to me, it sounds like they had enough to really take this man down. Oh, and also what's going on in the title down below this video. What has recently been revealed. So again, we still got to listen to this because it helps us, understand this timeline of today and last night. Okay, so let's take a listen to Harvey.
David the singer. Let me explain. The grand jury has been hearing this case for... I think there is a problem in the prosecution's case against David the singer. Let me explain. The grand jury has been hearing this case for 5 months, since November. Beth Silverman, the DA, has been presenting witness after witness after witness to this grand jury to get a grand jury indictment. We know that there has been a dogfight between the DA's office and the medical examiner over cause of death that we are told and have been told for a long time after Celeste Rivas' body was found that they were having a very difficult time establishing cause of death. And that is an issue here. But then the question, if Beth Silverman was before that grand jury for 5 months with the end goal of getting an indictment for murder, why did the police arrest David yesterday and then say they're going to present the case to the DA on Monday so that the DA can determine whether to file formal charges or not? That makes absolutely no sense, because it was the grand jury that was supposed to indict here and not the DA just charging him. If the DA wanted to charge, what was the point of a grand jury? So what happened at the grand jury so that they either didn't indict him, that she never asked the grand jury to actually indict, or did the grand jury issue a no bill, which means they rejected the case? I don't think they would have rejected the case outright, although I don't know. But the only other option is that Beth Silverman never asked for a formal indictment after presenting evidence for 5 months before the grand jury. So and the police say, we're going to present the case to the DA. The DA's had the case for 5 months. What do you mean present the case? That makes no sense when you listen to what the police are saying. The DA has had this case. They're the ones that made the decision to go to the grand jury. So why is the DA doing this and deciding apparently to file charges rather than to get an indictment? So there could be several reasons. The one that comes to mind is that a grand jury indictment gets very specific as to why they're indicting. And it may be based on the evidence that was presented that the DA is concerned that based on the way the grand jury would indict, it would leave a wide door open for the defense to come in and say, this is a deficient indictment in terms of proving the elements of murder. And the worry might be that a judge might dismiss the indictment. And I can't really think of another good reason, other than if the grand jury rejected the case, for the DA to spend all that time before the grand jury and then to say, okay, now we'll just charge him. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Now, again, like I said, first off, hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. That would be greatly appreciated. I see a bunch of y'all in here, and I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of the conversation. So please hit that like button down below. Send it all the way up if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. But here's the here's the thing. Now, of course, we already know the end result now because of what you're seeing in the title, which we will be getting into in just a second. But I wanted to share with you guys what people were saying last night. Even last night, people were sitting there very quick to be like, hey, well, if they don't have, probable cause, then there's no real reason to arrest this guy in the first place. And this is all one big, fat ass waste of time. But in actuality, it's not a waste of time because it's information that maybe just wasn't out yet for the world to see. It wasn't public knowledge yet. I truly believe, like we already saw, we're about to talk about here in a little bit, they knew, like the medical examiner said, it's a homicide. And they were like, bet, that's all we need. That's all we need to know. We're arresting him now. And that's it. And God knows what else information that they have pitted against him. You see what I'm saying? So it is interesting how people are so quick to push back and be like, no, this is wrong. They don't have probable cause. They don't have this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, maybe they do. We just don't know it yet. And lo and behold, it was exactly what I just said. We didn't know it yet. And we now know. Okay. This whole case has now been ruled a homicide. Has now been ruled a full-on homicide, y'all. Seriously. Take a look at this. Medical examiner has ruled Celeste Rivas' demise a homicide. This just came out a few hours ago. And again, like I said, it's interesting that, and I get it. Everyone will sit there and go, that doesn't make any sense. We've been sitting around talking about this case for months. Some people have not stopped talking about this case. I don't know how they're talking about a case that has no new developments. I don't know how you do it, but that people are still talking about it to a certain extent. Okay. But nonetheless, there was nothing to talk about because there was nothing new. There was nothing coming out. It would make no sense for them suddenly to, out of nowhere, arrest this man without probable cause, without something to stick to him. It's in his car. It was his girlfriend. It was his car parked outside his home. The timeline with this guy is strange. The fact that car went out to different places and all that, and I get it. That doesn't automatically mean that he's the one who did it, right? I get it. I truly get it. But at the same time, something about this, when you've had 7 months to fix, because that's the other thing too. This case would have just been dead in the water, guys. This case would have just been dead in the water. Like, for example, Nancy Guthrie's case. Yes, there's some updates, like one small update, but it could be a massive update, right? They have new DNA that they're examining. Hopefully that gets us something to closer to finding this culprit. And helping, bring justice for Nancy Guthrie. But like I said, it's been a few months and still nothing. Now, I just don't think that Pima County, well, I take that back because we dealing with Thanos Nanos, but I just would hope that Sheriff Nanos would not just go off and arrest some random person without probable cause, without reason, without, a solid, good reason or enough smoking gun evidence to say this is the guy or girl that did this whole thing. So it's the same thing here with D4vd. Same thing here with David. It would make no sense for them to suddenly arrest him now, of all time, if they still had nothing on the guy. They clearly have something. So a critical piece of evidence in the D4vd murder case is what caused Celeste Rivas' death. And a high-ranking LAPD source tells TMZ. The LA County Medical Examiner has ruled her death a homicide. So the medical examiner had trouble determining the manner of demise because of the decomposition of her body when it was found last September. A source connected to the ME had told TMZ. At the time, we were told they may never know whether Celeste's death was a homicide or accidental. But according to our LAPD source, the ME's office believes they figured it out. David was arrested, like we already know. This is over 7 months since the time Celeste's decomposing body was found in the front trunk of his Tesla, which was sitting in a Hollywood impound lot after being abandoned in the Hollywood Hills while David, was out on tour. He was booked into the LAPD 77th Street Station Jail. He's being held without bail. Members of the LAPD's elite robbery homicide unit showed up at a Hollywood home David was laying low at Thursday afternoon and escorted him outside to a police car. And of course, we saw him getting into handcuffs and they were arresting him finally. So his attorneys, Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, Regina Peter, previously told TMZ the actual evidence in this case should show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. We reached out to the medical examiner's office for comment in the matter of death, but the file has been officially sealed, so they did not reply. Now, they did a lot, right? They did a lot of blocking even 7 months ago. It's kind of the same thing that is happening with the Nancy Guthrie case. There's just been a lot of blocking. There's been a lot of, like they're trying to, block off people from being able to find out what's going on, or even to just keep that case or even Celeste's case alive, right? They've been very, very tight-lipped on everything and anything that's been coming in and out of the ME's office and out of the LAPD. It's been pretty insane, if you ask me. It's been pretty insane, all right? But nonetheless, now you see that you got an arrest. What the hell's going on, right? Let's go to Jesse Weber real quick. See what he got going on.
Singer David, real name David Anthony Burke, has been arrested after 7 months.
Mind you, this was last night. If I'm correct, this interview and this conversation with SF Investigates and with Laura Conlon, this was from last night. So, obviously the opinions might change once this information from the ME has, from the medical examiner's office has been out here breathing for a little while.
The 21-year-old was taken into custody by the Los Angeles Police Department on suspicion of murder in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And police say the arrest happened today with detectives from the LAPD's Robbery and Homicide Division taking Burke into custody. He is now being held without bail. To be clear, I mentioned this before, this is a major break in the case that has been haunting investigators for months. To be clear also, he is innocent until proven guilty. I'll talk about what this all means. But ever since September 2025, when police popped the trunk of a Tesla that was found abandoned in the Hollywood Hills and discovered the dismembered body of teenage runaway Celeste Rivas Hernandez, we have been talking about it. And as the investigation unfolded, there were even more disturbing alleged details emerged, including that parts of her body had been placed in bags inside the vehicle. And since then, there has been intense speculation, all of it centered on the singer named David, that the Tesla was reportedly his, that he and Celeste, who was that they claimed was his underage girlfriend, even though that wasn't confirmed by investigators as of yet. But you had apparent photos of the two together circulating online, raised a lot of questions. And Burke, by the way, hasn't been seen in public since his world tour was abruptly scrapped, hasn't said a public word about any of this. And until now, there has been no arrest. So should we, again, I have to be very clear here. Formal charges have not been filed as of yet.
Not yet.
This is despite a grand jury having been impaneled, so it's interesting. And police say the case will be presented to the district attorney on Monday for filing consideration.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. Let's be real. This dude was definitely in some sort of relationship with this girl. Okay? Sorry, I know that they have not confirmed any of that. They have not put out that information as fact from investigators and all that. But there has been too many other people that have been, close to the situation, knowing them and all that, saying different. And here's the other thing too. Why would anybody keep running back to the same guy over and over and over again if they're not in some sort of romantic relationship? Think about that for a second. Again, she was a repeat runaway. She was a habitual runaway. Anytime things went bad, she was always found in the Hollywood Hills. Let me repeat that again, like I said last night. Every single time this young girl, Celeste, ran away, she was always found in the Hollywood Hills. Where did this mother lover live? I'll answer it for you. In the mother loving Hollywood Hills. So let's just do the quick and simple math. He was with her. He has been seen with her at multiple occasions and multiple events, multiple Twitch streams and all that. And every single time she ran away, she was found in the Hollywood Hills, and that's exactly where he lives. And I mean, there's plenty of other people that have done deep dives into his music videos and all that. And there's so many depictions of Celeste in his stuff. Okay? It's pretty insane. So, like I said, to me, I think it's fair to speculate, all right, that there was some sort of romantic relationship going on here. I just don't know. I just don't see or understand how any kid, any person that is older than her is going to sit there and say, oh, it's okay, come on over. You want to run away? Yeah, just come over here. And you're not with them like that? You're just, that's just your buddy? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Something about that doesn't seem to fit. It's not sitting right to me. You see what I'm saying? I just don't see it. I just don't. So, again, every time she ran away from Lake Elsinore, she was running to him. Something seems weird. Something seems off. Now, don't get me wrong. There could have been problems at home and all that. Okay? So, like, I get like, you want to get away and all that, but you got a grown man, by the way, or, he's he's a man. He's not 12, 13, or 14 years old. That is for sure. Okay? That is for damn sure. So, to me, it doesn't seem to make any sense being a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 19, 20, 21-year-old, basically turning to a young girl who is unhappy at home and saying, yeah, come live with me. Come run away with me. Come here to the Hollywood Hills. That just doesn't make sense. Don't worry, we're just buddies. You're just my friend. It just doesn't make sense. The only other thing I can think of is like, the only other possibility I can think of is that he was like, well, I'm creating a group, like a gang of friends that, all these young, riffraff kids, all these kids that just, aren't understood or can't stand being home, or they're trying to run away from volatile households or something like that, of various reasons, right? Could be, DV type stuff, abuse type things. It could be all these different things, right? That we're all coming together and we're all friends and we're all, we're building and creating our own family. I could see something like that, like some weird Peter Pan, Neverland type stuff. Wow, that's hilarious that someone just said that as I was saying it. But you get what I'm saying. It just seems a bit strange. Okay? But I don't see it like that. You got Neo or Neon, okay? You got D4vd. You got these other friends. They're all hanging out together. They kick it together. They party together. They hang out with him. It's like his own little entourage. But still, in your right mind, you're not turning to a freaking 12, 13-year-old kid and saying, hey, yeah, run away and keep coming over here and live with me. Any right-minded individual's not doing that. So no, I don't think it's that. But I'm going to put that theory out there because anything's possible. But you can't tell me that they weren't attached at the hip, because they clearly were. She would go to parties with him, events with him, acting like she's older than she really was, when in actuality, she was 14 freaking years old, 13 years old. So, something ain't right. Yeah, some Pied Piper type ish. No, he for damn show ain't Pied Piper, and he for damn show he old. Okay, if we're talking Peter Pan, he old. So he for damn show ain't Peter Pan. So again, it just doesn't, this he just irks my soul, man. Dude just irks my soul. All right. And I hope at some point this is explained, this dynamic, because it could very well be just a platonic relationship. But why would she keep going back to you, D4vd? Explain that, homie. Explain that and make it not sound gross. I dare you.
So tonight, for the big questions, I want to turn right now to missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher and LA Magazine contributor Lauren Conlon. Both have been covering the story since it began. Steve, stand by. Lauren, I want to go to you. You have a few more details about the actual arrest of David, right?
Yes, Jesse, we've all been waiting for this day for a very long time. And reportedly, David was arrested at the home he was staying at in Los Angeles. Now, we don't know where that is, but as you said, he has remained silent and out of the public eye for 7 months. So again, the details we have so far are that he hasn't been booked just yet. I did call the jail. They said it usually takes about 5 hours for processing. So we will know a little bit more information.
I mean, where's his mugshot too? That's what I'd like to know as well. Where the hecky is his mother-loving mugshot? You feel me?
As the night goes on, how much his bail is going to be set for, if anything. And as you said, Blair Burke, his attorney, did just issue a statement, which is so interesting.
I'm going to read it. Let me read it real quick.
Yeah.
Here it is. Okay, so this is from his attorneys, Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter. Let us be clear, the actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. There has been no indictment returned by any grand jury in this case and no criminal complaint filed. David, has only been detained under suspicion. We will vigorously defend David's innocence.
Okay, again, this is their job, by the way. This is what they're getting paid the big bucks to basically say. But at the same time, where is it? I mean, like, I agree. There is no indictment, okay, by any grand jury in this particular case. But again, the fact that this medical examiner has now come out saying this is a homie, I mean, that's a big freaking deal. So we'll see.
Actually, Steve, I want to start with you now with that. First, your reaction, because if anybody knows you, you have been quite vocal advocating for David's arrest for quite some time. But like they said, just an arrest, no charges yet. Isn't that confusing? Wasn't there a grand jury that was impaneled?
It's really confusing, and I'll tell you, I tweeted about this exact thing before that statement came out. I was surprised that this arrest was by complaint. It was not going to be sent to the DA's office to consider being charged. This is not an indictment of the grand jury. So either the grand jury would fail to return an indictment, or for some reason they didn't send it to the grand jury for an actual vote. So either one of those, I'll tell you, it worries me a little bit.
Explain to our audience why it worries you. Before you do, let me just read you. This is the statement from the LA County DA's office. Our office is aware of the arrest of David Anthony Burke by the Los Angeles Police Department. The case is expected to be presented to the Major Crimes Division, at which point prosecutors will review the facts and evidence to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to file charges. At this time, additional information is not available. We will share an update on Monday once a filing decision has been made. First, two questions to you, Steve. Were they aware that LAPD was going to arrest him? And two, why does this worry you? You're saying maybe the case is not strong?
I don't know if for sure if they were made aware. Normally in the circumstance they would be, but I don't know. Is there now a break possibly between LAPD and the DA's office on this case? It could be, because we know that there was a grand jury impaneled. We know that because the filings that the DA's office did in Texas. That was by the DA's office, so they're aware of this case. The fact that they didn't arrest him by indictment, and strategically would make sense that they go for an indictment, I guess, if they want to keep everything really private like they have done. But now it's got to go to a preliminary hearing. So I don't know if there was they couldn't come to terms, and LAPD said, listen, we're just gonna throw it out there and arrest him and see if the DA's office picks up charges or not.
Well, look, if you're right, I mean, this could have been just an investigative grand jury gathering evidence, locking in testimony. Maybe they didn't feel they could get a majority of jurors to believe that there was enough probable cause for a charge. Maybe unlikely, because, a grand jury is relatively low standard. But then, like you said, maybe you go to a preliminary hearing in front of a judge, you present the evidence. Lauren, I got to go to you on this. Two parts. One, I mean, you said it, we didn't even know where David was. I didn't even know he was staying in the Hollywood Hills. That was a shocker, what he was doing there. But any response from his family, any response from Neil Langston, who was his apparent friend that was arrested for allegedly not providing testimony, for not testifying in front of the grand jury. He had to be arrested and then actually reportedly brought to an LAPD, a Los Angeles courtroom to testify. Are we getting any response from third parties here?
So I did just do some digging previously after the news of his arrest. I reached out to the Burke family attorney, Kent Schaefer. I literally just got an email back from him, and this attorney was responsible for filing the writ of habeas corpus, so the family didn't have to testify and travel to Los Angeles. And I said, what do you know about this arrest? And he said, I don't know much more than you. I reached out to Josh Marshall for a statement, his manager. I have not heard back yet. And Neo Langston, I went directly to his Instagram to see if he posted anything. And his Instagram, while it still exists, it's wiped. He completely wiped it of every single photo. Previously, he had wiped it of just photos of he and David. Now it's totally gone. So, I mean,
and he was quite vocal on there, Lauren. He relatively recently, Neo Langston posted a bunch of kind of cryptic messages seemingly referring to David.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear to me at this point that David, nobody wants anything to do with him. I mean,
that's very true. And again, Rose City, I agree. I'm wondering maybe Neo did flip because he did start to say stuff. I mean, you know, after you testify, after you finally just say like, F it, I can't hold this stuff anymore. I can't hold water anymore. I can't keep, quiet anymore about this stuff. He ain't my friend anymore. I can't believe he did what he did, or I can't believe he made me hold in all this information. How dare he, so on and so forth. I mean, I can see that actually happening when the realization happens that when her body is discovered, and then suddenly, and again, let me just say this too. Neo, okay, maybe did not have anything to do with her demise. Maybe did not have anything to do with discarding her body or dismantling her body. He may not have anything to do with it. Let's just put that in, put that bee in our bonnet or whatever. Let that soak down to your plums, okay? And then suddenly he's like, F this, like this is my best friend and he did this? I'm done. You see what I'm saying? It's possible. It's possible. Or he knew all along, kept his mouth shut, then her body was found, and he's like, I can't hold this in any longer. F this dude. I mean, Neo is going off, or was going off on him, just calling him out and calling him an imbecile and all that stuff. I mean, so I think clearly something happened. There's a rift in their relationship, and I think obviously all of it has to do with what's going on with Celeste and this case.
And everybody is like, whoa, I'm staying away, or that's what it seems like to me. But I think the big question here is going back to what Steve said. I mean, this arrest reportedly is based on probable cause at this point. So what changed? What piece of evidence came forward now that they didn't have 7 months ago? That's what I'm asking myself.
That's fair. Steve, look, one of the reasons we don't have a lot of questions, a lot of answers, is because the medical examiner's report has been sealed. This was sealed right per the LAPD. I wonder now if there has been an arrest, is that going to be unsealed? Because if you hear his attorneys saying he's not the cause of death, what exactly was the cause of death?
So now that he's these charges are about to be sent up to the DA for consideration, now they'll probably switch their strategy a little bit. And if that's the case, they got something in there that they think points away from David, they're going to want that unsealed. And they're going to have to unseal it anyways now because there's going to be a prelim hearing.
That's what's up. So one thing is for sure, come Monday, there are some things that may be completely exposed, like cause of demise. What actually is the thing that took her life? Because if they say, well, cause of demise, like right now, they're already saying homicide, okay? They're already saying it's a homie. Medical examiner's already saying that. It's a homie. How did she pass away? If she did not do this independently to herself, if you get what I'm saying, and if it wasn't through some sort of substance that was put in her system, then what is it? What was the cause of her death? The actual cause of her death. That's one thing that I'm sure we're all trying to figure out, right? And that's the other thing too. What got them to that conclusion? What got them to that verdict? That's the other piece too. Because if her body was as badly ripped apart as they say it was, and the body was that badly decomposed and all that, What made them realize, boom, this is exactly how she passed. You know what I mean? Now, Classic just said homicide refers of an unnatural death. Sure, so it could be OD. It could be that too. But at the same time, what is it that got them there? Here's the other thing too. She is ripped apart. She is dismantled. That's also an unnatural way of going too, guys. Is it not? It's not like she passed away of cancer, or some sort of disease. Her body was found ripped apart in the front trunk of a Tesla in two body bags. Like in two, bags. That's already screaming homicide. It's already screaming a homie. You see what I'm saying? So again, something led to them to say, this is most definitely a homicide. Now, because they could have said that 7 months ago, guys. They could have said that ish 7 whole months ago, and they didn't. Just remember that. Remember that as we continue. Remember.
Assuming he pleads, not guilty. So it's funny. Things are going to really now, an indictment, everything would have stayed sealed. And now that's different. So we're about to, if it moves forward, we're about to see a lot, I think, which is healthy, I think, for the kids.
Lauren, what about Celeste's family? I don't know if there's ever enough discussion about her family, what they've been going through, what information they have or have not been provided over the last 7 months. Have you hearing anything from them?
Man, they ain't saying not a damn thing. Come on now. They ain't saying not a damn thing. Have we heard anything from Celeste's family? Real talk. We haven't seen any interviews. We haven't not seen them on camera. Not expecting them to do all that. But at the same time, nothing. We've heard nothing from them. But maybe Lauren Conlon knows something. Let her cook.
Yeah, I mean, my heart breaks for them, Jesse. My heart really does break for them. And initially, it was really her brother that was speaking out to the press. I don't know too much about her mother and father, except I don't think they speak very good English. I think there's a language barrier. So, they haven't really been vocal about this. I know her aunt initially was pretty vocal when she was missing. I saw a lot on Facebook, her cousin as well. But that's really all I know. I'm going to just really, again, stay on top of this as I have been, because I know, Steve, we've been working together on this a lot, and we've just been waiting for this day and for the evidence to come out. I mean, everything has been so secretive, as you said, right down to the medical examiner's report. And one of the first things I did, and even though I knew it probably wouldn't be available, I started refreshing that page again because, I mean, supposedly or reportedly, her cause of death was undetermined at one point because her poor little body was so badly decomposed.
Steve, at one point, when this is the last part before I have to go, Steve, remember they said they didn't even know if there was any crime beyond concealment of the body. They couldn't even determine if this was or they didn't even come out publicly and say it was a murder.
Which is baffling because that was never true, because they knew she had been dismembered when they came out with that. And that is a mutilation of a corpse. That's a felony in California, not a misdemeanor. So that was an untrue statement. So this is where I'm still very confused about what's going on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can totally understand the confusion, right? And of course, there's still speculation, okay, about her being frozen, like what we're hearing, like this super chat. Thank you so much, Magic Wheel of Crypto. I appreciate it. Don't forget Frozen. We don't have any confirmation of that either. They've been saying, it's been back and forth on whether or not she was actually frozen or that she wasn't thoroughly thought out yet. Stuff like that. She was so waterlogged from being frozen that it was hard to get, fingerprints, etc., off of her body, which is strange. But at the same time, that was a story that was out here, guys. Yeah, that July 3210. Yeah, Santa Barbara freezer. There's a theory that maybe she was in one of these like a freezer, literally like a standalone freezer that they may have, chopped her up and then put her in there, or maybe they put her in there and then they took her out and then they chopped her up that way. I mean, there's so many different things that have been flying around in the internet, in the rumor mill, but that we have not heard any proof of her actually being frozen or not. But it is interesting that FS Investigates did say this part, and I'm glad.
So here's what we're.
And I'm glad that he said this part out loud. And I'm going to play it again because it doesn't make sense. Again, why wouldn't they instantly say, yo, she's dismembered in the front trunk of this car? Isn't that something? Isn't that suspicious foul play type action going on? Isn't that mutilation of a corpse? Isn't that X, Y, and Z? Wouldn't that raise all these different flags? So why did it take 7 months to do any of this that we're seeing right now in the first doggone place? The math ain't mathin', y'all. I'm just saying the math ain't mathin', but I just want to play that last part again because that is I think that's a very important piece of information. Take a listen.
Steve, remember they said they didn't even know if there was any crime beyond concealment of the body. They couldn't even determine if this was or they didn't even come out publicly and say it was a murder.
Which is baffling because that was never true, because they knew she had been dismembered when they came out with that. And that is a mutilation of a corpse. That's a felony in California, not a misdemeanor. So that was an untrue statement. So this is where I'm still very confused about what's going on here.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Obviously, we're going to stay on top of this. We will see what happens Monday and going into next week, how this progresses. I will say it again. He has been arrested. He hasn't been charged. He's innocent until proven guilty. But this is, again, a major development in a case that we've been following very closely here on this program. Steve Fisher.
Yeah. Again, and I appreciate these two going on and talking, but he did just say, like, Steve Fisher just said something that is absolutely correct. I agree with him 110%. It doesn't make any sense that suddenly now he gets arrested for something that he should already been arrested for. At least the way I'm breaking it down, he should have already been arrested for that alone a while ago. Okay, because this was his car. This was, a car that was outside his home. Okay, and this friend that has that there's multiple pictures of him with said friend inside. She's inside this car. Okay, huge problems right there. Okay, huge red flags, and for some odd reason, nothing was done. Nothing was done about that. I just think that's a little strange, don't you? I just find that a bit strange. But now we're finding out that he's getting arrested, or he got arrested yesterday, 7 whole months later, when that alone could have gotten him arrested in the first doggone place, right? It's just weird, y'all. It's very, very weird, but we're going to continue on, and this was recorded and this was done. This conversation was done last night. Now, obviously, there's going to be different conversations now, I'm sure. Okay. But this is very, very weird that this guy would not have been arrested a long, long time ago in regards to any of this crap. But let us continue. We got some other interviews to look at, so let's take a look at all of this right here.
In the murder mystery of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, singer David has been arrested in connection to her death, and her decomposing body was discovered in the trunk of David's Tesla in the Hollywood Hills last September. So joining us now to talk about this evolving case is TMZ executive producer Charles Laboutier. Charles, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very dramatic turn of events in the Hollywood Hills yesterday.
Yeah, so TMZ has broken a lot of news on this case from the beginning. Police were really, really tight-lipped about the whole thing. But David's arrest, I mean, this was essentially the outcome that we did expect, right?
It is the outcome that certainly, I mean, if you go back to September when Celeste's body was found decomposing in a Tesla that David owned, everyone thought immediately, like, okay, well, this guy has to have something to do with it. Why haven't they arrested him? And obviously, the police did not have the evidence that they needed, and they've been working on this case. We know that there was that the DA had also convened a grand jury going back as far as November, and that we're told that was an investigative grand jury, and they, saw testimony up until February, I believe was the last time we know that they had convened and that there was someone in there. They had had tons of witnesses go through, and yet there had not been an arrest. So as for what changed yesterday, why they finally felt they had enough to arrest him, we're not sure exactly. Now, when he was arrested, the LAPD said that they will be turning their findings over to the prosecutor's office, over to the DA on Monday, and that the DA will then make a determination if they are actually going to charge David with murder, with Celeste's murder. Right now, he is just arrested under the suspicion of committing that murder, but he has not been charged. And what's curious about that is you have the police saying they're going to turn their investigative findings over to the DA's office, but the DA's office has been running a grand jury for several months and has presumably seen all of this evidence. So that's the part that doesn't add up here, and maybe might point to some holes that the prosecutors have in their case, because they assembled a grand jury, but they didn't get an indictment. They say that that grand jury was just there for investigative purposes.
Yeah, you really wonder what those holes in the investigation are, because as you mentioned, her body was found in September. We're now in April, and really no firm charges have been filed in this case. And you wonder, you know, what is it that they don't have that really ties these two together? After all of this investigation, though, you've covered so many cases. Is this timeline very unusual?
I think what's really been the main thing that has held them up here, and that is definitely a potential hole in the investigation. As far as we know, the medical examiner's office still does not have a manner of death. And if you can't say that Celeste was killed in a particular way, then how can you say someone did that thing? You have to be able to say what it is that, in this case, they've arrested David. So clearly they think he did it, but how did he do it? How did she die? And because of how decomposed the body is, you know, we'd been told by sources in the medical examiner's office months ago that they were having a very difficult time determining a manner of death, and were uncertain if they would ever be able to.
That is really, really disturbing and sad. You really feel for that family. I mean, since this all began, it feels as though we've been talking more about the suspect or potential suspect in the case than the victim, really. What have you learned about the victim, Celeste, and her relationship with David before she died? If I remember correctly, her mother had spoken out long before, saying that she'd essentially left home, right?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to Celeste's mother. In fact, speaking to Celeste's mother was how we even determined that Celeste was the victim going back. Because remember, this all in September, they find the body, but it was so badly decomposed, they couldn't even determine who this person was. There was a very particular tattoo on one of her fingers, and we had heard that that was the case. And through a tip that we got, ended up speaking to Celeste's mother, and she said, yes, she identified that tattoo and some other things that that were found with the body, and that's how we determined Celeste was the victim. But what was always really creepy about this case is that Celeste was only 14 years old. She would have turned 15 a few days after the body was found in David's Tesla. So, you know, Celeste's mom told us that she had run away, and it seems like the family had some minimal contact with her since she had run away the year before. This would have been in 2024 when she ran away, and they had minimal contact, but certainly the mother, Celeste's mother, knew about someone named David that, as she put it, was dating her daughter.
Do we know how they met? Because there is an age difference here.
Yeah, we still don't know how they met, and it could just be that once Celeste had run away and she was here in LA, encountered David at a party or something like that. We don't know how they met. We do know that his friends certainly thought that they were a couple. They said...
There it is. Somebody just said, where did you get that information, Pascal? People were saying it. And you know, people were saying this to news sources and all that they believe that these two were in some sort of, that they were linking up, that they were in some sort of romantic relationship. There you have it.
What we were told is that they sort of presented as a couple when they would be at social gatherings, but nobody had any idea how young she was, is what we were told. They thought that she was, you know, a student at one of the colleges here in LA. Had no idea. People were shocked to find out she was as young as she was.
And do we know anything about...
Yeah, so they didn't have it. I guess these friends did not know how old she actually was until they actually found out through her death how old she actually was. They all thought, a lot of them thought that she was of age. So they paid no mind to the situation. They all just assumed that she was around the age of everybody, you know, that David was hanging out with, when in actuality, she was not of age at all. And let's not forget this too. You know, we talked about this too. And I even said it when, you know, Ashley Banfield's show was still on the air too, with Lauren Conlon actually in this conversation as well. I said at that time, you got to remember LA, a lot of the, you know, youth is everything. Youth is everything in Hollywood. There are people out there that look like they're 14 years old and they're actually 30. I'm not kidding. This is not a lie. This is true. This is LA. It's all about youth. People eat that stuff up all day long. So, you know, they may look at her and go, she looks hella young, but okay, you know, she just happens to look hella young. You know, Hollywood's going to love her. You know, the movies are going to love her or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a place like Hollywood that embraces and idolizes youth. I mean, how many times have you seen Nicole Kidman change her face? I'm just saying, how many times have you seen Vivica Fox change her face? Just saying, all right? Have you not seen how these faces keep morphing into different things? Why? Because youth and looking young always wins. And you look at someone like Nicole Kidman, you're like, damn, your face looked totally different in the last movie or in the last show you were in that I just watched like just yesterday. How many shows you in? Damn. You know what I mean? Youth is everything. So when you got somebody who looks like she's 14, but she's saying she's another age, you don't think people are like, all right, cool. Oh, yeah, I believe that. Or they just assume, okay, she just happens to be young looking. So she's going to be auditioning for some high school drama, you know, like another Euphoria, when she clearly in her late 20s, but she looks like she's 17 years old. You see what I'm saying? Little Sydney Sweeney situation, or a little Zendaya situation where, you know, they're clearly adults acting like they're 16, 17, 18 years old when they're clearly not that age. You see what I'm saying, right? So again, you are out drinking colors, talking trash, canoodling, rubbing elbows with other people in LA, and everyone looks young. Everyone looks youthful. They're probably not asking how old you is, girl. You look hella young. How old you is? No. Most of the time they're like, oh, okay. And, you know, and a lot of times it'll be like, you won't believe how old I am. And then they say the age. And you're like, damn, you that old? You look great. Holy cow. You see what I'm saying? There's movies and TV shows that you're watching right now about like teenagers that are going through teenage problems. And those people are damn near 30. Yes, I said it. There's some people you're like, wow. Or it's like a mom and daughter, or, you know what I mean, kind of story or storyline type thing. And the mom happens to be younger than the daughter. I'm being real. In real life, you find out the daughter is actually older. The daughter actress is actually a few years older than the actual mama that's playing the mama in the Mother Loving show. And you're like, damn, she's just very small and petite and she looks young. But she damn near 30. And the mama, you know, she looks like a mom. So, but she's damn near 32. It's like, wow, y'all used to hang out with each other? This is crazy, right? But crazy, okay? So again, when it comes to Hollywood, when it comes to all this, they are all young. They all look young. They're not paying any mind to it. Real talk. Real talk. Let's continue.
After she ran away, was there a search? Was there an active investigation into where she was? She was only 14 years old. So was there any kind of police activity or any kind of records going back before that, after she ran away?
Yeah, the police did make contact with Celeste at least once, and in fact returned her to her family once, and she ran away again. So, you know, the police were aware of the fact that she was a missing person, that her family had reported her as a missing person, and had made contact that one time. But once she ran away again, there's no indication that the police had contact with her after that.
Do we know if there are any other potential suspects involved in this case?
Right now, it's just David. You know, remember last month, actually a couple of months ago now, one of David's friends, and I should say former friend at this point, because clearly he and Neo, the streamer Neo, were close friends. We'd seen photos of them hanging out, and Neo is the guy that they went to Montana and had him brought back to LA to go before the grand jury, and he did. But after sitting for the grand jury, Neo said he knows nothing about how Celeste died. He doesn't, and he said he has receipts to prove that he had nothing to do with this. So there had been some thought that maybe police were looking at him as an accomplice, but no evidence of that. So right now, David is the only suspect that they are looking at for Celeste's murder.
I mean, and I don't blame them that they are doing that. I mean, do you expect anything different? I'll tell you what, I don't expect anything different. I'm not surprised by that at all whatsoever. But we got a few more things we're going to look at here. There's another TMZ article that just came out, which is absolutely crazy. So we got to take a look at that too. And again, this is wild. Okay, so they're saying LAPD made arrest because tired of waiting on DA, according to sources. What in the what is going on? So the LAPD was frustrated at the LA County DA for not filing murder charges against singer D4vd. Like what? For the demise of Celeste Rivas. So they literally took the law into their own hands. This, according to sources connected to the case. So Mark Garagos, which of course is, you know, a lawyer. He also, his daughter was also a lawyer for Diddy, okay, defending Diddy. But moving on, and also he's friends with Diddy, but moving on, co-host of the Two Angry Men podcast, told Harvey he has spoken with people high up in the DA's office who say they were not ready to charge D4vd, but the LAPD was sick of waiting, believing there was more than enough evidence. So Garagos says the DA didn't have its ducks in a row and wanted more time. 7 months and they wanted more time. That's crazy. All right, maybe they just didn't have enough. I don't know. But anyway, but the LAPD wanted to force the DA's hand by making the arrest. If the DA doesn't file charges by Monday, authorities have to set D4vd free, which is not a good look for prosecutors. Garagos says the LAPD is banking on the DA filing charges quickly to avoid the embarrassment. According to Garagos, at the time of the podcast recording, 1 p.m. Friday, top brass in the DA's office were scrambling to figure out what to do. That's insane if that's the case. You got the homicide, you got a homicide verdict by the medical examiner. You have that right now, okay? You have that. I'm sure they got enough to stick something to this man and then duke it out in court, right? This could explain the extreme show of force by the LAPD in making the arrest, that the LAPD wanted to make a statement and made sure some members of the media were there to chronicle it. The DA's office gave us this statement. Our office has worked in close coordination with the LAPD on this case, sharing resources and information. We have no knowledge of any conflict as this case has gone through the normal process any case would go through. To that, Gergo says, how is it normal that you spend a year using all of your resources, go to the grand jury for months, and then LAPD arrests without a charging document? So, interesting. Let's take a look. Let's see what they saying here.
Examiner has apparently revived or has come up with or has come to the conclusion to a medical certainty that it's a homicide. Guess what happened then? Have you heard what happened then? LAPD then tried to get the DA's office to then file. DA's office apparently wouldn't file, so LAPD said, "Oh, okay, you're not going to file. We're going to go arrest David. We're going to arrest him on a Thursday afternoon."
You got to stop for a second. Back this up. Are you telling me that you're hearing that the DA was not ready to file charges and the LAPD said, screw you, we're going to just arrest him when the DA wasn't ready to file charges? Is that what you're saying?
There is exactly what is happening right now, which is why there is no complaint.
Are you saying because that's what I'm hearing, that the DA was not ready to file charges, the LAPD got frustrated and said, we're just going to arrest him. You got 4 days to file. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm hearing.
I don't understand that. But Mark, if they're not, if the DA is not ready to file charges and 4 days run out, then David walks free and LAPD has egg on its face.
No, LAPD is then going to point the finger at the DA's
and
office.
The DA's office.
You realize how insane that would be, right? You realize how insane that would be if that was the case. If suddenly out of nowhere they're like, oh no, we're not ready. We don't have enough to bring charges to him, to David, and then suddenly out of nowhere it falls flat. It completely falls flat. Yeah, this will make both sides look like idiots. And then next thing you know, they're going to just be pointing fingers like this. It's like that Spider-Man meme, right? All these Spider-Mans pointing fingers at each other, they're just doing this thing. So again, it's like, that would be really bad. But again, it would be bad. Long story short, it would be bad. But then there's the other part of me that's like, come on. It's been 7 months. I'm sure the DA has enough from the testimonies, the grand jury testimonies that they did and all that. I'm sure that they have enough to take this mother lover down, right? Again, she was found in his car, gone, dismembered in his car. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how else to. So if they did this and it's like, it's almost like they shot themselves in the foot, right? If this ends up falling apart, why would they just that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense, guys. This whole action does not make any sense. Yeah, it just, yeah. Sorry, I can't. Sorry for repeating myself over and over again, but it really doesn't make any sense.
This is going to say we're not ready. Are you?
Yes. And that I'm telling you, that's what's happening. There's only one other explanation that makes any sense whatsoever.
Okay, and what's that?
And the DA may embrace this if they decide this is too hot for them to just reject. And what the DA would say is on Monday, that we've now looked at it, we're now going to file charges, and they'll do a press conference, and they will do the performative arts theatrics that it took them over the weekend to finally realize that they had enough evidence.
I have talked to multiple.
That would be some lazy ass ish. You understand that, right? Suddenly out of nowhere, you know what I mean? Suddenly out of nowhere, oh yeah, after this weekend, we do have enough. You see what I'm saying? And let's say it's not enough. Like let's keep it a bean. Remember Diddy's trial? Remember what prosecution had? Remember what the feds did? The feds were like, we got enough to take this dude down forever. His whole natural life, the rest of his natural life will be behind bars, right? Old baby will be locked up for life if he gets charged with everything that we got. And we got eyewitnesses and everything, right? And then they came to present the case and it fell flat. They fell on their face hard. So it's the same situation here, except the only difference here, there's a massive difference. Number one, we're dealing with one individual that lost their life. The other case was about him just, having mans run through his girl, right? That's another conversation in itself, right? This is a much serious crime that David is going to be looking at if the DA actually gets their ish together, but they may not. They may not. But here's the thing. If hand is forced, if LAPD forces the DA's hand to come up with something, then that might be very, very weak allegations, very weak charges that don't have enough behind it to take it all the way down, right? That's something that should be a huge concern, not only for just the DA, but also for the LAPD. Because for them to collar D4vd right now, David, right now, without anything, this is a bad representation. And if it falls apart, this is a bad representation of the LAPD as well. And they already have a bad rep. So again, this is very strange.
Multiple people in this case, and nobody could understand why they would do it before something was filed. And you're right, it's becoming the only viable answer that they just got frustrated and wanted to arrest this guy.
Correct. They're sitting here saying we're now into April.
Okay.
You already punted us into 2026. We're not going to be deterred here, and you're going to have to figure out your escape strategy, which is, by the way, as we're taping this on Friday afternoon, and they'll come out and deny it on Monday. But I know for a fact they're all meeting right now. As we're taping this on Friday afternoon, there is an all hands on deck meeting in the DA's office.
And an all hands on deck meeting to figure out what the hell they're going to do, because this guy's in,
right,
and he could get out on Monday.
Hey, he could get out on Monday, which would be wild, which would be absolutely wild. But again, like I said, it would be very strange and weak sauce for the likes of LAPD to go up there, arrest him, throw him to the judge, get him in a room, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, we don't have enough to take him down. Huh? You don't? It'd just be bad. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a different situation. You never know. Maybe he will walk tomorrow on Monday. Maybe he won't. But something about this is very strange. Something about this is extremely strange. But I also have to say, if you got the medical examiner's office saying this is a homicide, that's something. Let's not forget, you have her remains chopped up. Just like we heard from that investigator, okay? That's mutilation of a corpse. That is absolutely a felony. Absolutely. He should have already been caught that charge already, but he didn't. It's like they wanted to wait until they actually went and arrested him because they wanted to arrest him on something even bigger. But that homicide, that COD, they're saying that it is a homicide. That is a massive deal. And I could see why LAPD is like, we ain't sitting around any longer when we got a potential murderer just chilling at home playing Fortnite in his boxers. But we'll see what happens on Monday. Of course, there's gonna be more information here soon. I'm sure there's gonna be a whole lot more information. Okay, trust and believe more information, I'm sure, is going to start slowly leaking out over this weekend, or maybe not. Maybe we just have to wait until Monday and hear what happens in court. But I'll be keeping an eye on it for sure, okay? I will definitely be keeping an eye on it, just like we're keeping an eye on so many other things. And now, just so you know, left turn, and I'm not going to it right now, but Trump just was on at TPUSA, speaking at an event at TPUSA, which is very, very interesting nonetheless. But I digress, guys. Unfortunately, I got to wrap up the show here. But what say you guys? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that they have enough to bury this dude? Or do you think that this is just going to be one big fat ass waste of time? What do you think? Definitely make sure you comment down below or comment in the family chat and all that. But that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really means a lot. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Please do me a favor before you head off. Okay, hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick. I'm on all of them, so make sure you show some love. And hit that follow button over there. Make sure you're also subscribing to my YouTube channel. Subscribe right now. Go ahead and subscribe. Okay? Subscribe. Hit that notification bell down below. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload. Hit that join button down below as well. Become a member of the family, please and thank you. If you want to support even further, check out my Patreon, which is in the ticker going across the screen right now as we speak. Go show some love and some support. That'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, you can also check out pascalmerch.com. All right? But it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. I'll be talking to you guys very, very soon. If something pops off this evening, I'll let you guys know. Okay? And yeah, stay safe out there. If you're in the path of these storms that are coming up tonight, stay safe. And we'll be talking to you here soon, okay? Much love to you guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.